Welcome back to the Harpreet Singh Show. Today's guest is the author of a recently published South Asian fiction novel, Chasing Kismet. Please welcome Amrita. Welcome to the show, Amrita.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your first published book, Chasing Kismet. So for those who don't know what the book is about, can you please tell us, what is it about?
Sure. So pretty much it's a story about an Indo-Canadian female. She's in her early 20s. The book kind of starts off really light and fun and not intense at all. When you read the back of the book, you think you're in for this like mega dramatic ATN serial type of book, but it's not like that. It starts off kind of based around the life of this girl and her two best friends and the on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend and like kind of dramas that younger people typically deal with. And then through certain life events that she's forced to deal with, like the fact that she has a pretty estranged relationship with her mom, her dad's an alcoholic, then it starts getting into more heavier topics. So the entire book is more or less about a lot of the issues that I felt needed to be addressed in the Indo-Canadian community. So things like stigma against mental illness, homophobia, forced arranged marriage. I combined all of those topics together and created one roller coaster ride of a narrative out of it, and that's kind of what comprises this book.
Okay, and what inspired you to write this book? Like, where did the concepts and the ideas come from? Were they from your own personal life experiences or somebody else that was in your life?
So prior to writing the book, I used to write for a few local newspapers and magazines, and through the interviews that I would do with those people, the same topics would always come up, the ones that I just mentioned. And so I thought, okay, I want to make a difference in my community. I want to, really create change. And how can I do that? If I just stand up on my soapbox and say, stop domestic violence, stop homophobia, no one listens, right? If it's too in your face, people just turn a blind eye to it. But I thought, why don't I create a really relatable and riveting story that kind of draws you in based on the fact that it's kind of a reflection of Indo-Canadian life. So that's kind of where the inspiration behind the book came.
Okay, and what was the process of writing this book? Like, what do you have to do in order to write a book? How is it like for you? Is there any challenges? Did you have times where you didn't even know what to write?
Definitely. I started off with a rough concept. So I always I had those core topics written down that I was like, I want to weave these into the story somehow. But at times it became difficult to figure out how exactly I was going to do that. Like, I tried to avoid stereotypes, but at the same time, the alcoholic father, it just kind of pretty much, it was the only way to kind of weave that aspect in. So, but yeah, I mean, there were times where writer's block comes along, and then I would bounce ideas off my loved ones. My husband helped a lot. He often jokes that he's the co-author of this book. So yeah, a lot of the material, it's not from my personal life. It's a lot of the material just comes from what I've observed around me, just Surrey life.
Yeah, your
like
community and your surroundings and things that you find important to you. And when you were writing this book, did you know that this was going to turn into a book? You were sure that you wanted to write a book, or was it just you being creative?
No, I had always had the goal of I wanted to be an author one day. That was something, it was just a vision I had for myself. There's something that really was appealing to me of immortalizing yourself through literature. I've always been interested in writing blogs and articles, and I just started writing poetry now. But the concept of holding an actual book in my hands, because I was such an avid reader my entire life, it was just something that I knew I had to accomplish one day.
Exactly. And what kind of feedback did you receive from that? Saying that you've always wanted to be an author, and that's a really creative side of you. So what was feedback that you received from your family, your friends, when you said that?
There's people who are more supportive than others, but I think in the end, I was my own worst enemy. Growing up, I always had this mentality that I didn't have a concrete talent. I was never into sports. I never was that extracurricular type of student. I mean, I can't say I grew up being a writer, but I always knew it was a strength of mine. Like my teachers and my peers would point it out to me like, hey, this is pretty good. This is good stuff. But I always felt like I needed some defining factor to myself. And it wasn't until recent years that I kind of decided, you know what, I have my main job, I help out with the family business, but I want my identity to be that I'm a writer and an author. So that's what I made happen.
And what would you say is the importance of bringing out our creative side in youth and even adults?
What people need to realize is when you allow your child or even yourself to kind of express yourself through those outlets, it betters your life in every other aspect as well. So if you're, let's say you're down and out and you're having a bad day at work and then you go home, and for me it would be writing would be my outlet, then automatically your mood's going to improve. You're going to start being better at work, and every single aspect of your life is going to improve as a result.
And how do you balance it all? You know, with the business, being a mom, being a wife, and now you're an author?
It's a balancing act for sure. It gets hard. But you know what? My son is my inspiration. He's my driving force behind all of this. Yeah. He gets so proud at my book signings and any type of media I do. He's like my #1 supporter. He's only 2 and he kind of gets it.
Yeah.
So he gets so excited to even be holding the book.
Oh, that's very sweet. And you know, it's really nice to see that you're able to show others out there that you really can do it all. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not easy, but it can be done.
It's doable. So what's next? What do you have coming up next? Maybe any more books?
Definitely a sequel is in the plan, but not anytime soon because I'm expecting my second child. So I need to take a breather, kind of focus more on family life for a bit. And then once I'm ready to step back into the writing world, then yeah, definitely a sequel to this book. I initially, when I had written it and I was done, I was like, okay, there is no sequel to this. I have no desire to create more out of this storyline. But then just based on all the feedback I received and so many people needing to know, like, what happens next? Like, is there more? So then I kind of thought of some other concepts that I could address in a second book.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what's coming up next. Thank you so much for sharing your story and being here today.
Thanks.